very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 13th Singapore International Energy Week. Now, it's really good to see all of you live right here in the ballroom. Allow me to take you through some very important safety measures and housekeeping information that I'd like to share with you. Again, I think this is the new norm. I'd like to remind one and all to ensure that you have your masks on at all times and do approach anyone at the registration counter should you feel unwell at any one point in time throughout the entire day. To our on-site delegates right there, our on-site delegates, a gentle reminder to check your mobile phones, of course, all of you, for your SMS updates as you await for your antigen rapid test results. Take a look at it periodically just to get the results, yeah? Wi-Fi is available in the ballroom. Take a look at the screens. Details are right there on the screens in front of you. Now, we encourage you to download the SIEW app. Several reasons to do this as well. Do so by scanning the QR code on the back of your name badges. Access the likes of Q&A, polling, and the latest agenda, speakers and sponsor information, as well as view your virtual exhibitions through that app as well. You can also share, which is very, very important. We'd like for you to share all of your feedback of our new hybrid event that we have right here. Your thoughts will be really appreciated as you share your feedback on the sessions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back shortly for the keynote opening address. For now, we'd like to say a big thank you for your presence here at SIEW. Right, ladies and gentlemen, just like to mention, we'll be commencing very shortly. For those of you in here in good time, thank you for taking your seats. For those of you who can hear me from the outside of the ballroom, it is now time for me to invite you to make your way into the ballroom. And for those of you here, a gentle reminder, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that you have your mobile devices switched to the silent mode. For our guests, our participants who can see me online, I'd like for you to do the reverse. Have your mobile devices switched on nice and loud so that you can hear us through the entire proceedings of the day. And it's really good to see all of you all around the world joining us right here in Singapore. Okay, I'll be back shortly, ladies and gentlemen, to start the proceedings. For now, I'd like to say thank you for being here in good time. We'll start very soon. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, viewers online, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see all of you right here for our very first hybrid Singapore International Energy Week, or SIEW 2020. I'm Ravi Nadesan and very happy to be up on stage here with you. Now, right here, of course, at the Marina Bay Sands, Singapore. For those of you watching from all around the world, thank you for being here as well. Now, it is very, very emotional for me as well to be up here on stage. This is the first for Singapore in a long time. It's great to see you live right here, ladies and gentlemen. I think we should start this day by celebrating this first in Singapore with a big round of applause, shall we? It's good to see everyone here. Very nice to see all of you. In light of being here live, there are several safety measures that we have in place and the fact that we have to share with you several very important housekeeping announcements as well. Now, for those of you who are here at MBS, please we encourage you to download the SIEW app. We will be using this app for our Q&A and polling throughout the entire day. We encourage you to join us for all of that. Your feedback is also very integral to us, so do share your thoughts with us through that app. Okay, for those of you joining us online, good to see you again. You will be able to take part in this Q&A as well. And of course, for every session, you'll be using a virtual platform on our app as well. Across both platforms, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to access the latest agenda for the day, view speakers and sponsors information, and of course, visit our virtual exhibition. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to start this morning, we'd like to invite up on stage Minister for Trade and Industry Singapore to deliver his SIEW opening remarks. It is with pride that I invite up on stage Minister Chan Chun Sing.
A very good morning to all of you here at Marina Bay Sands. As Ravi said, this has been in the making for a long while. Today is a special day, not just for SIEW, but it marks the resumption of MICE events in Singapore. We are back in business. To all our guests joining us from overseas, a good day to all of you, be it morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you very much for being part of this hybrid event. Different format, but same spirit. For SIEW to be a platform for collaboration and to generate ideas and solutions that will inspire the world and to provide a higher quality living for all of us. So thank you all for being here. For those of you who will join us, who were with us last year, you will remember that I shared the Singapore energy story. I said that if the last 50 years, water was our main challenge, in the next 50 years, energy will be our main challenge. We spoke about how we want to green our energy sources, the use of natural gas, renewables like solar, tapping into the regional power grid, and also looking for new low-carbon emission solutions. Today, I want to share another chapter, another page of our Singapore energy story. It is necessary for us to green our power sources, but it is not sufficient. We need to go a bit further than that. We need to look at how we consume energy and how we manage energy. Now, let's take a step back. It has been said that urban societies, if well planned, well organized, and well executed, if they are well planned, well organized, and well executed, urban societies can be the most energy and resource efficient way to organize human societies. We think it is true. We believe in that. Which is why, while Singapore is known as the little red dot, we also aspire to be a bright green spark. A bright green spark where our living, our energy generation, our energy management system can be an inspiration to the urban societies across the world. And this is why today we invite you to join us on this journey, for us not only to green our consumption, green our production, but for us to be an inspiration to how urban societies can realize the vision of being the most resource and energy efficient way to organize human societies. To do that, we will need to live green, power green, and most importantly, make sure that we design our market structures to encourage green living and green behavior. Let me start with living green. We will have to review the way we consume, produce stuff for ourselves, and very importantly, we'll have to look at how we provide transport solutions for the next lap of our growth. Now, big changes starts with small steps. To achieve that high-quality lifestyle that we aspire, let's start with looking at consumption. One of the things that we will continue doing is to make sure that our urban design will able to incorporate the latest science, technology, and design methods for us to reduce the usage of resources, and very importantly, in a tropical climate like Singapore, to reduce the cooling need by leveraging on the natural ventilation that comes with our climate. Just as what I shared last year, if we can reduce the air conditioning needs, say in this hall, we will be able to reduce 1/3 of all the energy consumed for air cooling in this part of the world. So we will continue to refresh our design, incorporating the latest technology, like planning to use natural ventilation, using solar panels, smart lighting technologies, planting both vertical and horizontal greenery in order to reduce our energy consumption for our living spaces. When it comes to product choices, all of us as consumers also have a role to play. We can all choose products that are made with less wastage, materials that are recycled or sustainably sourced. In fact, this is a growing market for an environmentally more conscious population in Asia. So it is not just about slogan. There are real market opportunities for this. Such sustainable or more sustainable products will have certificates to assure buyers of the origin of the sources of materials that comes with it, and the production methods. And this is a growing market that we will want to go into. We can also review the way we do our cooking and do our heating. If we can do more electrification for both cooking and heating, that will give us higher energy efficiency, allow us to control the emissions that comes with it, and yet at the same time reduce costs overall for everyone. Finally, on the consumption end, one of the very important things that we want to do in Singapore is to close up the consumption chain. And that is to make sure that nothing goes to waste. We have done that for water. Today, every drop of water that falls onto Singapore will be used at least twice before it gets evaporated. We recycle our water. We call it new water. Tomorrow, in fact, starting from today, we will be able to close the resource loop by making sure that we can convert more waste into reusable materials. It includes the construction materials that we use for our houses. It also includes the construction materials we use for our roads. In fact, we are working on converting plastics through pyrolysis oil, and we call that new oil, just as we call new water. Our aim is to maximize the amount of recycling of all the materials that we use in Singapore, that nothing much goes to waste, just as how we have done it for water over the last 50 years. And today, with technology, there's also new opportunities for us to relook at the way we produce stuff. There are two key technologies that we can leverage on. One has to do with digitalization. That increases the efficiency of what we can achieve with the same amount of resources that we used previously. The other is the advent of additive manufacturing, or what we call 3D printing. But it goes beyond 3D printing. Additive manufacturing, combines with data and digitalization, has the potential to revolutionize the way things are produced and the amount of resources that are required to do so. And this is the reason why the government of Singapore has continued to roll out various initiatives to support such processes. The government has rolled out various initiatives like the EDB's Resource Efficiency Grant for Energy to support industrial facilities in the manufacturing sector to be much more energy efficient. So with combination of digitalization and additive manufacturing, we think we can have a much more efficient, lower emission production system on the whole. Now let me move on to the third part about transport. And there are three aspects of transport which we will be reviewing in the coming years. How we move people, how we move logistics, and how we electrify our transport fleet. Incidentally, COVID-19 has opened up our eyes to new opportunities for people to meet and collaborate. Together with the data that we have now, for Singapore, as a small little island, we can review the entire Singapore's urban design, where we can minimize the need for people to move from place to place, be it for work or play, and yet at the same time increase the quality of interactions. Now that is the challenge. How do we make sure that we can do this by optimizing the entire transport system, from public transport to last-mile private transport solutions? It is actually a mathematical problem. How do we optimize the movement of our people by time and space to make it much more energy efficient? Likewise, there's a great opportunity for us in the next 50 years to relook at how we design our entire logistics system, from where we place the distribution centers to the retail centers and so forth. Let's just do an exercise. Look at the bottle of water on our tables. Have you ever wondered, when this bottle of water enters our border, where has it traveled across the island? How long, how far before it finally reaches the hands of the final consumer? In many societies, urban societies, logistics is a huge challenge and a huge consumer of energy because of the transportation from point A to point B to point C and so forth. But for an island like Singapore, instead of having any piece of logistic zipping east and west, north and south across the island before it reaches the hands of the final consumer, is there a better way for us to organize this such that it travels the shortest distance in a time band that is least congested, to minimize the amount of congestion it causes to our roads, and thereby reducing the energy consumption and reducing the emission possible? We think this is entirely possible as we relook at how we lay out our entire logistics system from warehouses to retail stores in the next 50 years. And if any country, any city can do that, Singapore must be one of them. So in the next lab, we have already said that we intend to phase out the internal combustion engine by 2040. For every internal combustion engine that we phased out and we convert it into an electric vehicle, we can potentially reduce the emission by 50%. Now, that is a huge boost to our efforts to provide a cleaner environment, a higher quality environment for our people. But beyond electrification of our transport fleet, today we are already in consultation with partners to look at the next lap of electrification for the aviation and the maritime fleet. No doubt, these are still nascent ideas, but these also have potential to revolutionize the way we transport people and goods around the world within a city with much greater efficiency and much lower emission. So this is what we aspire to do. And that's the first part about living green. If I may, I'll move to the second part of how we intend to power green. To power green, we will have to relook at the way we produce energy, the way we store energy, and the way we have our energy mix. So let's start with our energy mix. Today, Singapore has one of the cleanest ways to produce energy from fossil fuels. 95% of all our energy production comes from the burning of LNG. This is a high watermark, but I think we can do better. Hydrogen has tremendous potential as yet another clean form of energy, if not cleaner form of energy. We'll be working to see how we can combine the use of hydrogen with our existing LNG mix for us to have an even cleaner energy mix for Singapore. And that's why the government has set aside $50 million to fund low-carbon energy research and test bedding in hydrogen, carbon capture, utilization, and storage solutions. So we look forward to working closely with the research institutes to bring this about. And this morning, I just signed an MOU with Australia to explore partnerships and opportunities beyond our shores, to see how we can drive low-carbon emission solutions, including hydrogen, carbon capture, utilization, and storage solutions, and renewable energy trade. This is a new way for us to look at our energy mix in its totality afresh. Solar power is probably the most plausible way for us to have a greater proportion of our energy mix from renewable sources. And this is why, from last year's target, we are going to bring forward, we're going to front load our production of solar. And we aspire to have the public service sector to take this lead. That we will bring forward to try to achieve 1.5 gigawatt peak by the year 2025. Last year, we announced the target for 2030. This year, we want to front load it, notwithstanding COVID, by bringing forward the deployment of solar, and we will catalyze this through the public sector initiatives. Now, with greater reliance on renewable energy sources, some other challenges will arise. We have to fix the intermittency problem, and storage will be one key issue that we have to resolve. This is why today we're happy to announce that EMA and Keppel Offshore and Marine have jointly awarded a research grant to a consortium led by Envision Digital and energy storage system. This will see the deployment of Singapore's first stacked energy storage on Keppel's floating living lab. If this is successful, it can potentially save 40% of the land take for a typical energy storage solution. With more solar, we will also have a more decentralized grid. It will be quite different from the previous and existing grid, where we have producers pumping electrons to the users. Instead, in the next generation, we can see and envision a situation where consumers can also, at certain points in time, be producers of energy that feeds back the electrons into the decentralized grid. Now, to run this decentralized grid and to balance it in real time, we will need new technologies. The good news is, today, we have such technologies in digital, and if we can leverage on this, work closely with our research community, we will be able to have a new grid architecture for Singapore in the next 50 years that moves away from the centralized grid to a decentralized grid with dynamic load balancing throughout the day, throughout the weeks. So these are exciting opportunities for all of us. In the area of production, we will continue to push forward to make sure that our combined cycle generating the turbine, the gas turbine, the combined cycle gas turbine, or what we call the CCGT, will become more efficient, adopting the latest generation of technologies. But we know the challenge. We understand the challenge. To invest in huge CCGT requires huge investment. And this is why Singapore is interested to see how we can complement this with another generation of smaller and more efficient genset to help to balance this demand instead of having this lumpy investment necessary. And we hope that more companies will adopt such complementary solutions over and above the existing huge CCGTs that we are using. If we can do so, combined with digitalization, we will again have a brand new way of organizing our energy production. Because there is great uncertainty in the next lap of energy demand. And this has nothing to do with just COVID. Some of the key drivers of our energy demand for the next lap will include the data centers, the electrification of our transport fleet, over and above today's demand by the petrochemical plants, the semiconductor plants, and other industrial players as well. So while there's great uncertainties over the next lap of energy demand, we need to have more agile, more flexible solutions in the generation of energy, combined with the decentralized grid that we talk about. So this is really new and exciting opportunities for us going forward. Now let me move on to the third part of our plan, and that is to develop green market structures. And let's take a step back and understand why we are doing this. While we would like to continue to encourage and cajole more players to use more energy-efficient solutions, moral suasion can only go that far. We will need to make sure that we have the right market structures, right incentives to drive the right behavior in a sustainable way over the long term. But today we know, for any energy-producing plant, we face what in economics we call it the hog cycle or the cattle cycle, which is that there tend to be a feast and famine problem in the sector. When times are good, many rush in to invest, exacerbating the overcapacity for the next lap. When times are not so good, people withdraw their investments and accentuate the problems of shortage for the next lap again. This is what in economics they call it the cattle cycle or the hog cycle, a feast and famine strategy. And we must find ways to overcome this in order for us to build a reliable and sustainable energy producing system. And these are the few ways that we intend to do this. First, EMA will introduce a forward capacity market in the coming year. This will provide greater certainties to all our producers of the demand in the next few years. And we will provide more details of this forward capacity market and how it will help to provide greater certainty for players to plant their capacity in Singapore with greater certainty of the demand required. So that's the first thing that we'll do. The second thing that we will do is to see how we can strengthen the regional grid architecture. We will kick this off by importing 100 megawatts of electricity imports for a trial period of 2 years to see how the market works, to see how the technical challenges can be overcome. This will allow the region to share the clean energy sources that different countries may have. And we'll start this with Malaysia. Once the concept takes off, we'll be able to extend this to other regional players. And we will also be part of the Laos PDR, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore Power Integration Project, or what they call the LTMS PIP. This will be a pathfinder towards the broader ASEAN power grid system. And it underlies our commitment to advance regional power grids as a solution to decarbonization in the region. Last but not least, very importantly, we must make sure that we have the right carbon pricing. Today, we have a carbon tax currently set at $5 per ton of greenhouse gas emission. But having a local price mechanism is necessary but not sufficient. More importantly, the carbon price, there must be a global carbon price for it to be a fair playing field for everyone and for us to catalyze action at the global level. And this is why Singapore fully supports the multilateral efforts under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change to land a global deal on carbon markets. And we would like to work with like-minded countries and like-minded partners to build a carbon trading market in Singapore. We invite all interested partners, local and overseas, to work with us to develop this market where we are able to trade with high-quality standards, verifiable standards that will provide assurance to both buyers and sellers. So in conclusion, today we share the next page of our Singapore energy story. We have every intention to green our consumption by living green, to green our production by making sure that our grid is more efficient, and we want to work with like-minded partners to catalyze the global market for more sustainable solutions. Now, at this point in time, you might ask me, are all these plans still valid in a COVID pandemic? Today is a testimony of our confidence and effort. We, in Singapore, we are not going to wait for the COVID to pass by and return to the good old days. We have told ourselves that even when COVID pass by and move on, we will never go back to a pre-COVID world. And instead of waiting, we are going to start today. Learning to live in a COVID world, investing in the long term for both a COVID and a post-COVID world. The plans that we announce today will not be realized in the next 1-2 years. The plans that we have laid out today will also not be just for the next 1-2 years. Instead, we have a long-term vision, just as what I mentioned last year. If the last 50 years we have overcome our water challenge, the next 50 years we are determined to overcome our energy challenge. And bit by bit, we will put in all the building blocks necessary to make sure that Singapore will be a bright green spark, where our solutions, our ideas, our collaborations can be an inspiration for the world to realize this simple vision, that if it is well executed, well planned, well organized, the urban society, even for a country like Singapore without a natural hinterland, the urban society can be the most energy and resource efficient way to organize human society, providing the highest quality of life possible for the same amount of resources consumed. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for being here. We invite you to be part of this Singapore energy story so that together we can inspire new solutions for the next lap of global growth. Thank you very much, and may you enjoy a good week ahead.
Thank you, Minister Chan, sir. Indeed, this bright green spark, ladies and gentlemen, is proud to have all of you with us. As Minister Chan has mentioned, this is a testimony that we are going forward. This is a first for Singapore. It's great for the MICE industry, and of course, it's great for Singapore and the world as well. Let's celebrate this one more time with a big round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Very happy to see all of you here with us. We will now like to invite our first keynote speaker, the Honourable Angus Taylor MP, Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction Australia, to deliver his keynote address. Here it is.
Hello, and thank you to Minister Chan Chung Sing for the opportunity to address you at the 13th Singapore International Energy Week. Singapore is a very important strategic partner for Australia. In addition to our shared economic, trade and security interests, we share a commitment to addressing the global challenge of climate change. We know that advancing the next generation of low emissions technologies is crucial to achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement. Technological progress is the only way to reduce emissions while continuing to grow our economies and maintain a reliable and secure energy supply. And realising these goals will require widespread international cooperation. We'll need to work with the private sector, research institutions and international partners. And so I'm particularly pleased this morning to have signed a Memorandum of Understanding to advance cooperation between Australia and Singapore on technology solutions. It's been a pleasure working with Minister for Trade and Industry, Chan Chung Sing, on this agreement. Australia and Singapore already work together on a range of low emissions technology partnerships. This MOU will take that cooperation further. It affirms our shared ambition to drive down the cost of the technologies needed to enable global climate action, while lowering emissions and keeping our economies strong. We're expanding our commitment to work together on hydrogen, renewable electricity, carbon capture utilisation and storage, and other low emissions technologies. Practically, this will include work to develop hydrogen supply chains and manage energy grid reliability, to name just two examples. We'll also work together to support each other and countries in our region to measure and report national emissions. Australia has recently taken a very significant step forward in our efforts to reduce emissions through technology. We've developed a national technology investment roadmap to guide an expected $18 billion of Australian government investment in low emissions technologies over the next 10 years. We're aiming to leverage at least a 3 times multiplier on that investment, crowding in co-investment from other levels of government, research institutions and the private sector. Together, we hope to realise at least $70 billion of new investment over the next decade. We've set stretch targets for 5 priority technologies: clean hydrogen, electricity storage, low-emission steel and aluminium production, carbon capture and storage, and finally, soil carbon. Now, those goals are set at the point at which these technologies will become cost competitive with higher emitting alternatives. Australia's experience has been that when new technologies become economically competitive, households and businesses rapidly adopt them. We're seeing that firsthand with renewables right now. On an energy-only basis, costs have fallen rapidly, and we're seeing $30 billion investment in renewable energy since 2017. Australia is now deploying new renewable energy 10 times faster per capita than the global average and 4 times faster per capita than Europe, China, Japan or the US. About 2 million, or 1 in 4 Australian households, now have solar panels. In 2019, the share of wind and solar in Australia's electricity grid was more than double the global average and projected to rise rapidly in coming years. Of course, this brings new challenges. We need more flexible backup generation and storage, gas, pumped hydro and batteries to balance and integrate high shares of renewable energy. That's why our technology-focused approach is so practical. By focusing on getting the costs of new technologies down, we won't raise the costs of incumbent technologies like coal and gas that continue to play an important role in our energy mix. Our practical approach won't undermine energy affordability or reliability as we recover from COVID-19. And as one of the world's largest energy exporters, we'll continue to support our partners like Singapore with the abundant, affordable energy their economies rely on. Getting new technologies like hydrogen, carbon capture and battery energy storage down to a point where they're cost competitive will significantly reduce emissions at home and abroad. Our 5 priority technologies have potential to significantly reduce emissions from energy, transport, agriculture and industry. These sectors make up around 90% of global emissions and emit 45 billion tonnes annually. Our ambition is to be a global leader in low emissions technology solutions. Our plan is based on balance and outcomes. It's a plan that will bring the world with us, creating jobs and supporting future prosperity. Singapore International Energy Week is a great platform to share solutions around our region and globally. It's this practical approach that Australia so strongly supports. Thank you again, and I wish you all the best for this, the 13th edition of International Energy Week.
Thank you, Excellency. And yes, he can hear your applause. Let's give him a round of applause, shall we? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now with pleasure that I invite up on stage Dr. Jochen Eickholt, member of the Executive Board Siemens Energy AG, this time to deliver his welcome address. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I hope it can be heard. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are at crossroads. 2020 has been one of a kind, as a tumultuous year, a historic moment, if you wish, and also spanning the entire globe. The implications of COVID-19 have been severe. Some parts of the world are still struggling, and some parts certainly more than others. Singapore, in my view, really is a shining example for its response to COVID. Here in Singapore, you've been acting swiftly, and you've been also very successful at various fronts. Your measures have been determined, steadfast, and consistent. The government's policies not only serve as a blueprint on how to handle the pandemic, they're also a testament to the agile mindset we need to confront the global challenges. Singapore, in our view, in my view, really is a blueprint for a successful approach towards the transformation of energy systems. Siemens Energy, as such, is a new company. We are a spin-off of Siemens. We are committed to seize the moment that is 2020. We are now almost 4 weeks old as a stock-listed company. 1 month ago, we went public. We're now listed as an independent company at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And as you see, some of us were extremely happy, but certainly all of us, 91,000 people across the globe, were working really hard to make the listing possible. And as an energy technology company, there is no better time for us to enter the stage as a pure play than today, in our view. With our presence in 90 countries, we would like to make focus onto our customers, onto our markets, and we are really in pursuit of a clear path towards decarbonization. Already today, perhaps this is known to many of you, 16% of all the electricity generated worldwide is based on our technology, and we have the portfolio to do even more in this area. We offer products, solutions, and services throughout the entire energy value chain, from generation to industrial applications, from transmission to renewable energy, and also to power to X, including hydrogen solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 really is an inflection point. We should embrace the new normal, a new normal that taps into the transformational power of digitalization. We should accelerate the energy transition instead of thinking about the past and perhaps falling back. Siemens Energy partners in more than half of Singapore's power generation infrastructure, and in a difficult period together, I think it's fair to say we've kept the lights on. We've worked together, and we are looking forward to also master the 2020 year. We should be able to do more than merely bounce back from the implications of COVID. In our view, Singapore, but also Asia Pacific, and also Siemens Energy should use the time to bounce forward. I should even argue we have no choice but to bounce forward because the challenges of the energy transition really require concrete solutions. We need to make tomorrow different starting today. On a global level, and this is perhaps known to many, on a global level, the energy demand continues to grow, and also for electrical power. We are looking to an increase of 25 to 30% up to 2040. The projection of Southeast Asia is even higher. 60% of the overall demand growth by 2040 is something which is foreseen. In addition to the growth of demand, there's a shift in the structure of demand, and some of the elements were also mentioned with the Excellency speeches before. Although coal will remain a significant fuel in parts of Asia and elsewhere, the role of fossils is declining, offset by an increasing share of renewable energy and a growing role for electricity. As the energy systems decarbonize, hydrogen will inevitably become the center of attention. Asia Pacific is crucially important for Siemens Energy because it's the fastest growing and at the same time the fastest transforming energy market in the world. From our perspective, around 20% of our revenues come from this region. But we certainly are committed to enlarging our business here, and that includes also innovative solutions to the supply chain. With pleasure, I heard about the accentuated role of additive manufacturing, sometimes also called 3D printing. This is, I believe, really something which can help us to leapfrog some of the difficulties. Singapore, for us, is really a partner, but also it certainly is a leader in the region. Our relationship with Singapore is one of the most valued we have. We are now here for 115 years. In our view, the partnership is still excellent. It's not rusty at all. In fact, the opposite is true. Singapore is the region's innovative hub and is one of the global leaders of transformation in the energy system. Your energy story, the Deep Green Spark, reflects also our view. To some extent. Natural gas, regional power grids, hydrogen, we look forward to actually expanding the partnership because we know Singapore thinks big. To connect a giant solar farm from neighboring countries to Singapore is an incredible example for ingenuity in the way of how we defined that term. And for us, it's really a sign of future-oriented and future thinking. The approach, in line with Singapore's plan for the second and third switch in its transformation journey, shows how Singapore is planning for the energy transition and how that already is working and going ahead and progressing. Particularly pleased I am with the partnership with STE here. Together we are bringing power to islands on a boat. Together we are bringing the sea float power plants into place, which can be moved to any site accessible on the sea or on rivers. So really flexible in a way. Starting in spring 21, Estrella de Mar 3 will supply power with a capacity of 145 megawatts to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean. And together, we are really building a hybrid power plant solution with integrated battery storage. We are combining state-of-the-art combined cycle power plant technology with the mobility and flexibility required by the current, but certainly also by the future energy market. Speaking of this future energy market, our ability to couple various economic sectors with renewable energy, from developed industry to mobility, will be crucial for achieving the decarbonization targets. And as part of our so-called new energy business, we are really dedicated to power-to-X solutions and green hydrogen, and would be really forward-looking to perhaps intensify the partnership even more. And our hope is that this is the same with Singapore as such. This is why I'd look forward to exploring our shared visions and goals, because we are really convinced that Singapore and Siemens Energy can be one of the most strong alliances in the future. The Asia-Pacific region offers a whole range of exciting opportunities for our partnership. We are contributing to Thailand's greener energy supply with a 98 megawatt combined cycle power plant. In Indonesia, we're at the forefront of increasing the efficiency of existing power plants because we believe that a meaningful approach to decarbonization of the energy systems really starts with the realities of what we have on the ground. Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy, where we, as Siemens Energy, hold 2/3, 67% stake, has been establishing a strong foothold in Taiwan. In 2016, Taiwan's first 2 offshore turbines were set up. And last year, Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy signed a lease contract with Taiwan International Ports Corporation to build an offshore wind power nacelle assembly. So assembly offshore to support current and future regional projects. In South Korea, we've launched our last gas turbines in the so-called HL class, the very big ones. That means we are about to set up a high-efficiency power plant for the new combined cycle approach there. A power plant that runs on LNG and offers a generating capacity of more than 1 gigawatt, at the same time an efficiency substantially higher than 63%. And we are bringing also large gas turbines to China, where we will supply a set of H-class gas turbines to UGTC. Siemens Energy, we find ourselves on a decarbonization journey, pretty much in the sense which was described before. We are tapping into the growing Asian market because we are committed to a more sustainable energy world, but of course we also think we can really play a substantial role here. Our approach is to decarbonize one step at a time. Decarbonization is something which really is across everything what we are doing. We have pledged to become climate neutral in our own operations by 2030. And by 2023, we will only use energy from renewable sources. And in partnering with our customers, our individual decarbonization journey, in that one, we will be moving consistently in that direction. Improving efficiency on the existing energy assets, though, we still feel is one of the biggest priorities. Transitioning away from conventional fuels then comes next, and sometimes this is happening in an overlaying mode, and there's also a combination to that. And of course, in the end of the day, sector coupling, power-to-X solutions, and green hydrogen based on the PEM electrolysis will open the gate to further steps. In this context, perhaps it's relevant to look at the government politics, which need to be looked at. The policies need to be put in place. We all need to take part in this journey. Achieving carbon neutrality is really the task of all stakeholders. Policymakers have provided the necessary framework agreements, the Paris Agreement, if I look at it globally, the Paris Agreement, the EU Green Deal, the Singapore Climate Action Plan, or China 2060. These are encouraging signs. But, of course, implementation is key. While corporations operate across borders, we are bound to the various regulations of states at the national level. So in that sense, we need policymakers to pave the way, and we need an international level playing field. We want to replace fossil primary energy with renewable energy, and government policies need to incentivize competitiveness and investments in environmentally friendly and safe technologies. To reach decarbonization goals, policymakers need to strike balance between the climate objective and technological openness. Deregulation in certain areas can free up the kind of ideas and resources we may rely on in the future. We need to make sure that we actually see feasible and perhaps even ideal conditions as far as possible. Just think of the huge potential of sector coupling. Think of clean hydrogen and the missing link for sector integration. Of course, the shift to a deeply decarbonized world won't happen overnight. So that is why we believe we also need to have the courage to support really interim solutions. But I'm confident that we will get there rather sooner than later. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in our view, really, the future is here. 2020, with all the difficulties we're currently facing, should be seen as the year in which we all bounce forward, politics, business, and society at large. We at Siemens Energy look forward to working with the customers, the driving forces of substantial change, the indispensable partners in the ecosystem, and we would really like to also step ahead, looking at co-creation of new solutions. And we look to Singapore, the leading decarbonization force here in Asia Pacific. You, here in Singapore, you do inspire us, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. So let's make tomorrow different today. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Eichhold. May I invite you to take a seat right here, sir, for a further conversation. Thank you for those kind words about Singapore as well. We'd like to invite now Mr. Valentin de Miguel, Senior Managing Director and Strategy and Consulting Lead, Growth Markets Essentia, Singapore, to moderate this conversation, this panel with Dr. Eichhold. Thank you for joining us here. Let's give him a welcome as well with a round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Johan, for the fantastic presentation. And congratulations for the birth of the new baby born that leverages on the more than 100 years experience. And let me just share a few questions that are popping up in the minds, I guess, of everyone. Could you please help us understand what's Siemens Energy's role in the low-carbon energy transition?
Well, we understand ourselves as really the partner on the decarbonization journey every partner has chosen. So we believe there is no single way forward. The starting points for each and every partner are different. What we typically find is that partners have defined their way forward, or sometimes they're also contemplating on developing that way forward. We would like to make sure that we are understood as the partner where we can look at existing assets, look at the future scenarios, and then help with the transition, including everybody who's available on that ecosystem. So there is no single way in that sense. It's more important for us that really the individual constraints are being looked at, and we, coming from there, really development the best way forward. Even in places like Southeast Asia, the situation from our perspective in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, or in Singapore are completely different. So there is no single way forward.
No, brilliant, thank you. And if we can move on to innovation now, how does the recent spin-off of Siemens Energy support driving energy innovation specifically?
Well, in our view, I think it will help us to actually speed up. We now are a pure play. That means we will be much more focusing onto the needs of our journey, if you wish. And that means that in the fields of developing turbines with much higher content of hydrogen as a fuel, that the innovation around hydrogen generation in the sense of electrolysis, the development of storage solutions, the combination of those, the development of intelligent transmission systems, more active, and also designed for faster balancing the situation in grids. Those developments will be carried out way faster, I would reckon.
Thank you. I'm looking at the questions coming from the audience, and there seems to be a great deal of interest about Siemens' plans on hydrogen, whether that relates to hydrogen power plants, business plans, global hydrogen supply chain. But in the context of the broader game changers, what, in your view, are the game changers that will enable the transition to a more sustainable energy future?
Yeah, a very good question. I guess hydrogen really is in the minds of everyone now. Hydrogen, I think, really will play a central role in the future energy systems. However, when we look at what's really needed in order to have hydrogen playing a substantial role as a fuel, for instance, or in some other roles also in the energy systems, probably the quantity of available hydrogen needs to be 104 or 200 times as much as what we have today. So we need to look at further production facilities. We need to make sure that the whole infrastructure is set up the right way. Even the transportation issues around hydrogen have to be answered. So pipeline systems, for instance, in some parts of the world are in discussion. So that needs to be looked at. I think, economically speaking, the price of generated hydrogen needs to come down by a factor of 4 to 5. And frankly speaking, we are about to set up facilities to help us move in that direction. So yes, the price has to come down. Hydrogen has to become more and more available. Transportation issues have to be solved. And then I believe it really will find its way in a sustainable green energy system.
Brilliant. And, you already touched upon policy making and the need for all stakeholders to get involved in the energy transition. But how can governments, industries, and even the public come together to collaboratively create this low-carbon future, in your view?
Depending a little bit on this, on the state of a technology, I think pilot projects really could be of help. In the very first place, perhaps, these pilot projects don't have to be fully economically viable. It's a little bit more about process and project development, if you wish. But I think the second generation of these projects then already will become economically viable. So I think in the very beginning, there needs to be a cooperation between research, between politics, and potentially also between, and also as a partner players like us, who then can come together, develop the technologies, and make sure that the scaling up of the technology can happen swiftly.
Thank you. Let me pick another question from the audience. Minister already commented about regional grid and the plans that are being laid out in that space. Question from the audience is, does Siemens see itself playing a role in ASEAN's plans for regional grid connectivity and energy transition?
Regional?
On regional grid connectivity.
Yes, we offer all kinds of transmission technologies. On top of that, we partner. I mean, Siemens is a little bit of a complex setup also in the future. So we still partner also with the rest of Siemens for various, let's say, low voltage solutions. But in principle, we will have rather regional or rather domestic grids, as well as mid and long distance energy transmission. For all of those, we offer leading technologies, and also here in Singapore, we have some plans, and also some projects are right now in execution.
Thank you. Lots of questions coming in about hydrogen specifically. So let me take another one. How would you suggest that we can bring green hydrogen ecosystem to make it viable alternative to other types of low carbon energies? So can we create this hydrogen ecosystem?
I think we can. Hydrogen so far is not really at a mass market stage. Hydrogen so far, from the various elements which are needed for the hydrogen system, are in development. So I think right now we're in the phase of really a process development, a technology development. This phase, I would reckon, will require some further 3 to 4 years. And in this phase, I think really the cooperation of all relevant stakeholders is needed to drive that forward. I think then in the next phase, we really can scale up. Hydrogen generation in many parts of the world is thought of as something we follow with a system size in the range of up to 100 megawatt right now. I think when it comes to economic use of that, we probably need to think of systems in the range of 1 gigawatt or more. So that I would view as being then the coming generation of those systems. So right now, I believe, and this is only something I can try to make it most attractive. Right now, we really need to have the technology development supported and made faster wherever that is possible.
Lovely. Thanks very much for your enlightening words. It's been very helpful. Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that discussion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to mention that you would notice on your agenda, we had planned one of our keynote speakers, Her Excellency Dr. Mary Pangestru from the World Bank. She unfortunately cannot be with us today, and she shares her apologies with us, right? With that, we will take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to that end of a SIEW opening keynote. Do share your feedback, as I've mentioned at the very beginning of the day. Share your feedback with us. This is, of course, our first hybrid, so we'd like to hear your thoughts on the virtual platform or via, of course, the SIEW app. Now, the Singapore Energy Summit, you may like to know, it is on your agenda. It will be on at 11 a.m. Time check right now, just a little bit off 10:30. We're in good time. So at 11 a.m., we'll have the Singapore Energy Summit. Now, for our online viewers will be joining us for that summit. Please join us for the next session. All you have to do is to click session 1's live stream link. I'll say that again. For those of you who are seeing me from the virtual world, click on the session 1's live stream link. We will see you all very soon. Thank you.